the quietest story that will be ongoing over the next, hopefully just a couple of weeks. It should be even less than that as far as I'm concerned, will be the Biden administration's nominee for the Supreme Court. It depends on who he nominates, I guess, on some level, but there's every reason to believe that this should be fairly smooth sailing. However, it's got to happen quick, because if you take a look at the average age of a Democratic senator, there is reason for concern. And so they need to get this person confirmed as soon as possible. Once they are confirmed, doesn't matter how long Briar stays on the court, they are confirmed. So he can retire in June and go off and give a bunch more speeches about how wonderful our democracy is, whatever he wants to do. Get the person confirmed. And the Republicans, of course, are trying to figure out how they can say that this process is wrong or
too close to the election.
Too close to the election, too close to the last election, too close to future election, too close to primaries, Democratic primaries and congressional races. I mean, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But of course, how can they also generate the angst that they need from their base when they know, the base does, that they have a 6-3 majority? And the reality is that the implications of this seat, unless something dramatic happens, are not going to be too great, at least for a decade or two.
It's an investment in the future.
Yes. But that's hard to get people upset about, unless, of course, you have a go-to as the Republicans. And we're going to see this even from Susan Collins, who's ostensibly one of the more reasonable Republicans. Here she is on ABC's George Stephanopoulos.
George, I would welcome the appointment of a black female to the court. I believe that diversity benefits the Supreme Court, but the way that the president has handled this nomination has been clumsy at best. It adds to the further perception that the court is a political institution like Congress when it is not supposed to be. So I certainly am open to whomever he decides to nominate. My job as a senator is to evaluate the qualifications of that person under the advice and consent role.
You say that it's clumsy, but isn't it, as Senator Durbin pointed out, isn't it exactly what President Reagan did when he said he would appoint a woman to the Supreme Court? Isn't it exactly what President Trump did when he said he would appoint a woman to replace Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg?
Actually, it isn't exactly the same. I've looked at what was done in both cases, and what President Biden did was, as a candidate, make this pledge, and that helped politicize the entire nomination process. What President Reagan said is, as one of his Supreme Court justices, he would like to appoint a woman, and he appointed a highly qualified one in Sandra Day O'Connor.
Isn't this process politicized no matter what you do? I mean, look at what happened after the death of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Justice Barrett pushed through in record time. One of the reasons I suppose you voted against her.
Actually, the reason I voted against...
I can't listen to this anymore. I mean, it's unbelievable. First off, I am fascinated by how thinly she's slicing this. Reagan pledged that one of his choices would be Biden supposedly saying that every choice that he's going to make is going to be a black woman. Let's go back. Now, Bradley, correct me if I'm wrong. Back in 1980... the presidential elections still took place in that first Tuesday in November, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Well, this is from I believe, October 14th, 1980. So that would be when Ronald Reagan was still a candidate.
Reagan
Thus
was
politicizing this.
Well, let's play this clip and find out. I just wanted to make sure that I got the timeline correct here.
Polls continuing to show he runs better among men than women. Reagan took a dramatic step today to reach out for female support.
Now, I'm announcing today that one of the first Supreme Court vacancies in my administration will be filled by the most qualified woman I can possibly find. One who meets the high standards I will demand for all court appointments. It's time for a woman to sit among our highest jurists.
Reagan acknowledged that his opposition to the Equal Rights Amendment has hurt him with some women, but said today's announcement shows his commitment to equal opportunity. Today's Supreme Court announcement was a bold step for a campaign that...
That was Chris Wallace, who ended up on Fox News, incidentally.
How? I didn't even recognize him there.
Oh, yeah. He wound up decades later. So, but I guess she was saying the difference was
what's
he
the
wasn't
difference?
politicizing because he said one of the first instead of the first.
even though it's in the context of me struggling with women on a campaign.
Right. Very unpolitical of Ronald Reagan. And I can't imagine, like, can you imagine anybody politicizing the idea of the Supreme Court? It's not like, do we have Donald Trump? Should we pull up one of the multiple instances where he waived a list of people that he was going to choose from? Like, literally, here's the organization, Heritage Foundation, includes 5 heritage recommendations.
Whoa.
Yeah. I mean, we could see the list of candidates. Never mind, like, from what perspective. Like, here are the specific people. It's just absurd.
But what makes this different, though, Sam?
I can only imagine.
It's just odd, right? These circumstances seem to be quite similar, except for there's one difference here, the addition of the word black.
Well, yes, and of course, then it makes it all like affirmative action. It's just
that's
a
the point,
coincidence.
though. That's why they're drumming up that exact. I mean, they are good at getting grassroots outrage about court appointments and about
Of
the
course.
Supreme Court, which is not something that the Democrats are able to do. And what's an easy shorthand for that, or a shortcut? Okay, if you don't like the fact that the black person at your job got promoted ahead of you, you feel like you're more deserved, you're struggling with your employment situation, you see these black people getting ahead. That's exactly what they're tapping into, and Susan Collins is no different from the rest of the Republicans.
Of course. But you also got to remember the Obama cell phone. That's also
right.
the cell phone, the slush fund for the cell phones. And you should also note that it was a complete coincidence that there was only the 2 most qualified people in the country when Donald Trump became president, which just happened to be white guys in their 40s. And I guess maybe Gorsuch was in 50.
Well, how about Coney Barrett? She was super qualified, right? She must have been a judge for many, 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 many years.
Many, many days, sort of. So there it is. We're going to hear more of this as we go on. It'll be interesting. Was it Wicker that came out and said this is an affirmative action pick? Just that way you get
Clarence
both
Thomas,
flavors. You get both flavors of the Republican Party. The ones who will say it explicitly and the ones who will say it, politely.